All right, good to have you back. It's time to take a quick look at the papers this morning, what they have on their headlines. But of course, we have Dan Ekere, Professor Dan Ekere of the University of Lagos. He'll be looking at this with us this morning.
I'm aspiring to be a prof, though not yet.
So good to see you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for joining us. Okay, so we begin with a punch. Controversy over alleged $1.4 million scam in Defense Ministry, and that is happening under this administration. General detained, court-martialed, military denies Mercy contract deal, and I have not been briefed, says Buhari's spokesman. Yeah,
it has always been the issue. Most times he's never briefed, and in fact, you find this man saying that he's not part of it, he has no knowledge of it. So I'll be wondering, you know, how you will be in charge of a government and you wouldn't know what is happening. However, whether he's aware or not, now that he's aware, I think he needs to do the needful. There should be proper investigation, and whoever is found wanting should be brought to book. I think that's the way to...
Well, obviously, this might just be another, you know, subject of discourse for the next 2 weeks, and then we'll move on to the next one.
Well, an official of the ministry, is worthy of note, said that they followed due process in handling
those projects. Yes, that's what he says, but we'll find out, of course, as time goes on. IG appears before Senate, refuses to answer questions. According to him, I'm appearing before you, senators, because I have high regard and respect for you, but it will be sub judice for me to say anything before you.
Yeah, simply maybe because the issue before, you know, on which he has appeared are issues that are already before
the courts. Yeah,
so yeah, it will become a different issue entirely. As a matter of fact, there will be issues he can no longer discuss the way they ought to be. However, if there are questions that are outside that, there should be some form of, you know, general comments that can at least, you know, that respect that he says he has for the National Assembly, he should be able to give it in that manner.
All right, let's go to the Vanguard quickly. The Nation, rather, first of all. The major story is still around the budget 2018. Says better days are coming, says experts. Oil price rise, Naira stability raise hope. Manufacturers Association of Nigeria, others hail 8.6 trillion Naira estimates. It's just about reactions to the budget presented by the president 2 days ago.
Yeah, there are reactions everywhere. You find a lot of people, you know, for them it's a positive step. For others, there are still issues. One thing is to actually present a budget. Another thing is to execute the budget. You know, the one we are already operating, what is the percentage, you know, of execution?
Well, that's another.
So all that has to be brought into it. And don't forget equally that a budget is more or less an estimate.
It is.
However, it is equally a law.
Bill.
You know, because it's usually passed by the National Assembly as an act. Now, unfortunately, you don't even find, you know, consequences where such things are breached. Because, as a matter of fact, over the years, we've never seen any government that has actually performed, you know, optimally with respect to budget execution.
And the president is interested in, you know, getting back to the days of proper budget cycle of January to December. I wonder how all of this will play out. And okay, you still have one more story.
Magu, EFCC recovers 738 billion naira in 2 years. That's according to the acting chairman of the EFCC, saying that the anti-corruption drive of the administration of President Muhammadu Buhari is on course and has recovered a lot of money for the country.
Well, we've always had that, and Magu has always declared figures. We are actually yet to see the impact of the monies recovered, the economy. All Nigerians are looking forward to is a situation in which the recovered loot will be plowed into the economy to ensure that at least, you know, things flow the way they should. And the only way we can tell that truly the government has done much is when we begin to feel the impact, not when they give us figures.
Yeah, because $2 billion is a lot of money. That's the figure we're talking about.
Honestly,
and the government is talking about borrowing 5.5.
Exactly. I was about to say
and they keep recovering a lot of billions, and you don't see where they even come into the budget to say that, okay, the recovered funds will constitute.
They never referred to
at all. So
okay, so from the Daily Sun, no more war with presidency. That's according to the Senate. Saraki stops motion on NDDC. So better times ahead. Of course, the president, in laying out the budget, has called on the National Assembly to support and cooperate so that they can actually deliver the deliverables.
I expect that a government is not just the executive. You have all the arms together. They ought to be on the same boat You know, so the question of no more war suggests that obviously there has been a war, and that equally, you know, indicts the government, both the National Assembly and the rest, because ideally the entire arms of government should work together.
A house divided against itself.
Yeah, it can never stand. You know, so now that they say no more war, well, let's see how far this will.
Well, you're talking about war. Really. Is it about being at poles apart or working together?
Working together because
the promotion of
having the same focus, having the
but
same
you remember
goal,
the adage,
you know?
that says when two people go into a room and they come out smiling, they've been telling each other lies. when they come out, you know, with a frown, you know, they've been telling each other.
Yeah, somebody would have told the truth.
Would it be Nigeria's interest if, you know, there's some kind of, at least what they call checks and balances?
Well, in any case, all the so-called war, we just see that as a show. Truly, behind the scene, they do things together. You know, so all
right, so what do you feel about this one still coming from the Daily Sun? Italy arrests Libyan, Egyptian, over 26 Nigerian women's death at sea. There were reports, of course, that some of them, if not all of them, were actually raped and, you know, assaulted.
Yeah, I think the issue of, you know, trafficking in persons and all the rest has been a major issue. And a lot of these people who travel actually are eventually used as sex workers, you know, commercial sex workers. And a number of times you find out that they are not even protected because sometimes they travel without genuine documents and all the rest. So, however, now that they've been identified, no matter what condition in which they travel, for as long as the people are identified as citizens of certain countries, the normal thing to do will be to do a proper investigation.
Okay, all right, let's quickly move to the next paper, the Vanguard. The major story is unfair appointments, resource allocation breed crisis. That's according to Sultan. Says it breeds crisis, disunity. Biafrans not terrorists, only against marginalization. That's according to CAN president. And we have taken a turn for the West. Really, it's just a potpourri of issues surrounding Nigeria's national unity and the marginalization of one region in the country.
Yeah, that has been a major challenge for this particular government. You know, sometimes you hear the likes of additional telling us that this is just part of it. There are other appointments. What would be wrong with, you know, bringing everybody on board with the part of it that you have done? Because the part of it you've done suggests that that is the most critical part.
True.
So why will you exclude some people? I think that we should run an all-inclusive government. So every part of this country should be brought on board so that the question of marginalization does not arise.
In fact, the government was forced a few days ago to publish the list of appointments across the country, but then Nigerians were still asking questions at the key positions.
It's not just a question of I've appointed people from every...
There are
positions of influence.
What makes a position key?
Well, it depends on the influence it commands.
Should we sacrifice it at the altar, you know, this whole federal character on the altar of mediocrity?
There is certainly no part of this country that you don't have competent hands. Yeah, so the question of mediocrity, in fact, as a matter of fact, even with the way appointments are made, mediocrity is still being promoted.
Okay, so are you happy that...
no, I have to go... Well, no, that is your paper. This is mine. Don't take up my paper.
No, I have to do...
All right, yes, I have to... First of all, before we go to Oyo and the display of friendship, we go to Maina first. Senate to probe Malami, then Bazal, others in secret. And many Nigerians are asking questions already. That why would you want to probe these people that have been accused of smuggling Maina into the country in secret and even promoting him, bringing him into the civil service?
I truly don't know what they mean by secret, whether they are going to carry out some investigation secretly or that when eventually everything is done, it's going to be, you know, kept behind, you know, whatever. I don't understand. Truly, Maina's issue is something that should not be kept in secret. It has embarrassed this country, it has embarrassed the government.
Civil Service Commission,
yeah.
I've been told to take Mr. and Mrs. So allow me.
Don't take my
finally. You know, we always like what we don't have.
Yeah.
Okay, so finally, from the Vanguard, Mr. and Mrs., what are they saying this morning? I see love in everything you do. The way you dress, the way you speak, the way you smile, and even in the food you prepare. That's the woman. Oh, no, the man is actually telling the woman. And the woman says, thank you. Constant love from your purse. It will bring more love.
And talking about more love quickly, the show of friendship between Oyo, head of civil service, and government's Angel Kiari.
Yeah, well, friendship will
always,
will always be a good development. But let's hope that this is a new one.
All right, Danica, thank you for the analysis. Quickly, that's the end, of course, of this newspaper review, but we'll hold you, then we'll go into the first discussion. We'll go on a short break now for that. That's the end, of course, of this newspaper review, but we'll hold you, then we'll go into the first discussion. We'll go on a short break now for that. So we still have a lecturer of University of Lagos, Dan Ekere, with us in the studio to look at the estimate for the defense and how far with security in Nigeria so far as compared with other sectors. Thank you for staying with us, of course.
Yeah, thank you.
All right. Looking at the 2018 budget estimates, the first time you saw it or heard it, were you impressed knowing that, again, defense takes precedence over some other key sectors, that some perceived key sectors? Let me tag you like that.
Well, thank you. Well, it's a good one, but it's not as much as I expected. It shows that we've not really done much in terms of revenue generation. It shows that we've equally not done so much of diversification, you know, because the margin, if you look at the margin with which the budgetary allocations have been moving since 2016,
yes,
you discover that it is a very minimal, it's almost at the same, you know, level.
Some would even say there's no change at all, considering
are you getting
the inflation.
It? That is to even be blunt, yes. So far, I have not really seen that much that can bring about what you can call consolidation. Because as we speak, the state of federal, you know, infrastructure is in total disrepair, and I do not think the entire 8.6 trillion can even fix those things, let alone, you know, consolidate on practically everything. And at the time you look at the various sectoral allocations, and again, the revenues that, you know, you're going to generate to fund this budget, you discover that the 8.7 trillion, you are still going into depths of over 2.7 trillion.
They still be pushed to borrow.
The same way. So.
Okay, so that's an overview. Let's bring it down now to the issues at hand. Defense Ministry, recurrent expenditure, 422 billion naira. Breaking it down to capital expenditure, of course, is 145 billion naira, which means we're expecting this government to spend this amount to equip, according to the government. What government has said is to ensure that the gallant men and women in arms are properly equipped and well motivated. Is this enough? How far would this go to actually ensure that?
Well, one thing is to make that budgetary allocation that you are going to take care of the welfare of the men, officers and men of the armed forces and all the other security you know, agencies. Is it? But again, the next challenge will be whether it will actually trickle down from the top to the bottom. Because at the end of it all, you still discover that a lot of the men who are actually in the war front are not truly motivated as we say it. Because you see fine people in the army and perhaps other, you know, arms agencies, earning what cannot take them from their office to their home, let alone, you know, take care of the family. What you just said
made me remember what a video that was released by a Nigerian soldier just a few days ago that he sent to President Muhammadu Buhari of the state of living of soldiers at the battlefield in the northeastern part of the country. That in the military, the army was so embarrassed that General Tukur Buratai had to release some funds. And the questions were asked. If the soldier didn't do that,
it had to take that.
Exactly.
And the next thing you will begin to talk of mutiny and all the rest. You know, whereas you created the alibi for them to, you know, to operate in that manner. You see, truly, for you to want to, you know, opt to die for your country, there should be something to die for. You know, but a situation where you know that the moment, even while you are alive, it's difficult to take care of your family.
How much more when you're
then is it when you are gone? So, people who have subjected themselves to this kind of task, I expect that they should be well taken. In fact, there should be special allowances for this kind of
Now, you raised a very important point earlier, whether these funds will actually trickle down to where they should go. Now we're hearing about this alleged, you know, scam in Defense Ministry, $1.4 million. Now, that's a huge chunk. Imagine that taken out of this 145 billion, you know, naira. What would be left?
Now, that is the way this operation, and you know, the challenge with the Nigerian Army in particular is that it is a system where, because it's about command and control. Once orders are given, you carry out orders.
You get it.
In fact, you might not even have the opportunity to complain as such. Because it's like an officer has given you, a command. All you need to do is carry it out. So who are you going to complain to? The officer? True. They will tell you there are channels through which you can complain. But everybody is equally being mindful of what the consequences would be. So sometimes people are cowed to the point that they find it difficult to actually express themselves. However, you have said he must carry on. Those are the kind of situations that will make somebody to want to, create some funny scenarios that could lead to an enemy invading your camp.
And let's not forget that this fund will be shared between the Army, the Navy, and of course the police.
The entire security, and when you look at it, the Nigeria police has always complained of insufficient funds.
Requesting for funds.
Because truly, we need the police as much as we need the army. In fact, if not more, because it is the police that actually deals with the day-to-day running of, while the army's primary responsibility will be to take care of the territorial integrity. And as a matter of fact, if the army was properly taken care of from day one, we should not be having the challenge, because the challenges of insecurity that we have to the point that Boko Haram has to claim territories, you can blame the army that they were not, able to do their task. But this couldn't have happened when there are no,
some of them were even fleeing at a point.
So you needed to equip them. If they are not well equipped, how do you hold them responsible?
And talking about equipping the army very well, how will the use of technology help this time around? It's like the country wants to hit reset button starting a new year, and then looking at the capital expenditure estimate of 145 billion naira. Now, if you want to inject technology into helping to ease the work
challenges
in the country, will this be enough for that alone?
And as a matter of fact, you cannot really do any proper security checks and what have you without technology in modern times. And technology is not a one-couple business. It's quite costly. You need the personnel, you need the equipment, you need everything, the training and all the rest. Though, yes, sometimes we hear from the army that, they've carried out trainings and some persons have been able to refurbish this, we've got this, we've got that, but we need more than that.
Are you troubled that there might even be a link between this renewed attacks by Boko Haram in the northeast, especially in Borno, where you have the command and control center? If it's happening right there,
that is where you have the commanders.
Is it possible that there's a dearth in funds?
Truly, we are yet to get, all that we needed to get, because intelligence gathering is very critical. And as we speak, I doubt if we have such facilities with which we actually, can excel in this area. That is one challenge we have. And then secondly, are we really that trained to the point that we can actually do so much in the area of intelligence gathering? Because this is not a conventional war where you just go to a particular place and some of these men are around, they are even within you. You don't know who among the Nigerian Army personnel is leaking information. And until you have proper intelligence, you find, in other clients, you find people monitoring certain situations even for years. And they will be able to give you bigger bits.
And it brings to mind again the need for training and
retraining
of security personnel.
You certainly cannot do without.
But then it seems that that is,
and I think one training that is very critical is even the Nigerian police. They needed to
that was what I was about to say.
Sometimes they behave as if they don't go through training, because rather than prevent crime, they will wish that the crime takes place so that they can now, clamp on. Because you find a policeman who is at a traffic point, who ought to prevent you from doing the wrong thing, who will hide behind the vehicle, hide somewhere so that you can take a one-way, then the next thing he jumps in. You see,
and the prevention of crime is the best way to,
that's the way to go,
check crime. Don't forget, the UNHCR, the UN Human Rights Commission, came out recently with a report that the Nigerian military doesn't seem to be living up to expectation when it comes to, checking these Boko Haram attacks. Since the Boko Haram themselves have changed strategy, there's a need for the Nigerian army to change.
You need to upgrade. You must have to up your game. Otherwise, they keep, beating us to it before we begin. We are always on the reactive mode. So this, tendency of being reactionary, I don't think it augurs well for us. And that is a function of issues of intelligence. Because the moment you have proper intelligence, you will be able to, prevent some of these actions from taking place. Yes, you will be able to, tame them, such that before they even go ahead to perfect their acts, you would have been able to clamp on them, or somehow you will be able to create a situation that will tell them this cannot happen.
How do they come up with these figures, really? I mean, the government says, look, we're going to spend 422 recurrent expenditure on defense. Of course, like they've said, most of the recurrent goes into overhead, salaries, and all of that, while 145 will be spent on capital. How do they come up with these figures? I mean, we don't get to hear the how. We only get to hear, okay, this is what we're going to do, this is how much we're going to spend, but nobody really breaks it down for us to say, look, yes, we may not get it perfectly, but we can get close to, you know, some of our projections.
Yeah, very true. Well, we really don't understand the entire process, how they arrive at their figures, but I expected that, you know, for those figures to be arrived at, there should have been some input from the various, you know, agencies and whatever that we've
stakeholders.
Yes, the stakeholders. Certainly, if I don't tell you what my needs are, and you are just making a budgetary allocation, the tendency is that you either overshoot or you under. Yes.
Well,
Udoma,
of course, said that it was after far-reaching interventions and consultations, and that is what we hear almost every time when they want to
I hope the
far-reaching
consultations are not the political type. We are talking of reality.
Okay,
now
to
get bit by bit needs of various, you know, units.
Regardless of the gadgets put in place, the training and all that put in place internally, what about the porous borders of Nigeria? If the borders are still porous and you're fighting
and they will remain porous.
Crimes,
they will remain porous the way they are now. As we speak, you cannot even distinguish between the man from Niger and you know. So you see the. As a matter of fact, the margin, the way you see that is one country, this is another. How do you really checkmate this? So you have that challenge. Today, the margin, the way you see that is one country, this is another. How do you really checkmate this? So you have that challenge. Today, we'll be having issues of herdsmen, and sometimes some will tell you they are Chadians, they are Nigerians, and all the rest.
True.
Yeah, when it comes to but truly, before now, it was not like that. So the question of the porous borders is very critical, because a lot of activities are happening at these borders. Arms are being smuggled in, all manner of things. Then mercenaries are being brought in, and sometimes when they hit the target areas, the next thing is they find their way back to their...
President Muhammadu Buhari, during the presentation of the budget, said that the abandoned agreement with Benin in 2003 would be readopted to man the border with that country. But what about other borders? Because Nigeria shares borders with many countries.
So many, and it is not just, you know, Niger that is the issue. You have Chad, you have so many, and all of them, all of them have, Cameroon is there. You see, and the Boko Haram saga, you know, Cameroon was part of it. It was just all around they will hit here, the next thing they escape. So until you are able to bring all these your neighboring, you know, brothers and sisters or whatever to the table, to the point that you both agree that you have, you know, common challenges, and you strategize on how to address them, you know, as a body, you will continue to have these issues.
Of course, back to the issue of intelligence, highly required to man the borders, not only in terms of men, but to provide the equipment at the borders. And Nigeria's borders, how many kilometers? We don't even know. Now, the Nigeria police, about 300,000. Of course, Buhari had a plan to add another 10,000 men to that number. We don't know how many Nigerian military men and women we have, and the Air Force, and of course the Navy.
Even the Nigeria police, are you sure that is the figure we have?
Well, the official figure.
That's the official figure we've been given. And I'm just trying to figure out how...
I hope they're able to tell us the ones that are already demised, the ones that are sacked, and the ones that are ongoing.
How will this fund tackle the issue, the fact that, number one, Nigeria is, you know, has the highest proliferation of small arms in West Africa. 70% of the arms you find in West Africa are in Nigeria.
It's a terrible
Then you have the issue of cattle rustling, which the president did point to, that you know, something will be done about cattle rustling, banditry in places like Kaduna, Niger, Kebbi, and the rest of them. So how will this really, what do we really need to tackle or to ensure that defense is where it should be in this country?
Well, we have a population that has been estimated at over 170 million. And when you look at the staff strength of the entire, forces. you will know that they are not meant for the entire country, because they certainly cannot take care of it. You know, and I expected that by now we should have had strategic locations where you have, you know, various commands and what have you to take care of some of those challenges. It's not until Boko Haram strikes that you now move a command to Borno and all the rest. Now, you need to infuse more men into the forces, and not just mere, you know, bringing in people. There should be people who are trained, people who are educated, people who know the value of security, not the ones who eventually turn the arms against the citizenry. You know, so I think until we get to a point where we recognize that you need adequate policing, then you need adequate training for them in order for them to perform. Even the little we have, if they are well trained, the level of achievement will still be higher than what we have. You know, so training is critical, and that can only happen when you do proper funding.
All right, Dana Kerry, we'll have to say thank you so much for your brilliant insights as always on TVC Breakfast.
Thank you. It's always a pleasure.
Yeah.